Our guest on this episode of The InnerView has a remarkable and disturbing story to tell. He's a surgeon from China's Xinjiang province who says he has witnessed prisoners lined up and shot, and he says he was once forced to harvest a man's organs. Up next, Dr. Enver Tohti talks to The InnerView. Dr. Enver Tohti joins us now from London. Sir, it's a pleasure having you on The InnerView. You're in London in the UK, and is it fair and accurate to say you're there in exile?
Yes, you can say that. I'm here in exile, yes.
Yes. Tell me how it feels to be exiled from your homeland and to be labeled a whistleblower, somebody who is revealing a story and a truth that perhaps some people don't want to talk about and don't want to hear about.
Well, if anybody has never been to exile or to be exiled, then you cannot feel being exiled. Being exiled, it means you cannot see your friends, you cannot see your family, you cannot enjoy your homeland, that atmosphere, and the lovely food. And you will always be a foreigner in a foreign land.
Let's go to the heart of the matter here. You were a surgeon, a doctor,
yes.
Good job. Tell me what happened. Tell me what you witnessed and what you were involved in.
Yes, that was in 1995 in the summer. I guess, I'm pretty sure it was a Wednesday, because my scheduled surgery days were Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So since that is the middle of the week, and I guess that was Wednesday. And that Tuesday evening, my chief surgeon called me into his office and said, "Do you want to do something wild?" And I said, "Well, a surgeon, what kind of wild things can it be?" And I was quite excited. I said, "Yes, why not?" And he said, "Okay, you go to the theater and ask for the equipment, which is the extra large package, which extra large package can cope with any circumstances, because it has everything you need for the largest possible surgery." Then he said, ask for 2 nurses and take your own 2 assistants, and ask for 1 anesthetist. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Anesthetist, yeah. Or anesthesiologist, yes.
Anesthesiologist, yes. Then report to me tomorrow morning, 9:30 at the hospital gate. I was quite excited, so I got everything ready, and the next day morning, I called our van. I called it van. It was our hospital ambulance. It is ambulance, but it is just a van with a bed in it and nothing else in it. So I called it, and then we waited for our chief surgeon at the gate of our hospital, and the 2 of our chief surgeons, they appeared in the car. And they said, "You come, follow us." So we jumped into the van, and then we started following them. And from the direction of the traveling, I can see it was Western Mountain area, because our hospital is called Railway Central Hospital, and we have a branch hospital in the Western Mountain area. And I thought we are going there to help them to do some complicated surgery. But to the half of the journey, the envoy, the car, we turned left towards mountain area. And this part of the world I had never been to. But our driver, he knows. He said, this is the road leading to the Western Mountain execution ground. At that moment, I was like struck by a fear. I said, why? What are we doing in the execution ground where they killed and they shot people? What we are doing there? Anyway, we have to obey the order. And since we are already there and there's no way to escape, so we try to come down. Then we saw our chief surgeon, and because they are traveling faster than us, behind a hill, in front of a hill. And he said, you wait here and come around when you hear gunshots. And we said, okay. So we jumped out of the one and we sat on the shadow of the one. Urumqi, the atmosphere is dry and hot, sunshine all the day. So shadow of the one is a little, nicer. We waited quite well. I don't know exactly how long. Then we started hearing this noise from other side of the hill. We can see this. We can hear the noise from the truck, horns, and people chanting, and the whistle blowing, and we can sense that there's large movement of people. Then there was gunshots, and the gunshot was not like machine gun shooting, but it's like many rifles shoot at the same time. Since we have been told, then we understood the gunshot is the sign of the command. So I told them, let's go, let's go. So we jumped into the one and drove in. From the left side of the one, we can see there are 10 or 20 corpses lying down at the slope of the mountain, with 2 or 3 meters apart, and all were wearing prisoner's uniform, and the gunshot is to the back of the head, so that front of the head is blown away. Since we were all medically trained personnel, we saw so many dead corpses. We were not really scared of that thing. At this moment, there was a police officer shouting at us, say, go to the far right. That is yours. I didn't understand why far right, that is ours. Well, there's no time to questioning. So we come to the far right, and our 2 chief surgeons was standing there. There was a body lying down at the ground, wearing civilian clothes with hair, because all other prisoners, the head was shaved like mine, but this one with long hair. And my chief surgeon called me to the side, and the other chief surgeon ordered others to take this body put into the van. And my chief surgeon said, now you do as quick as possible to remove liver and 2 kidneys. I was actually quite relieved. I thought before, who is going to be shot? I thought, since I am the only minority in this team, is that they are going to shoot me? I was so scared. Well, when they said that, I was actually relieved because that is things I can do without problem. And from that moment, my whole body turned into, robot. That trained the robot to carry out the task which is programmed to do. So I found that removing organs from, half executed personnel is not that difficult. It is much easier than normal surgery in the theater. And what is little disturbing was when I start cutting, this man's body tried to struggling to resist my insertion. And I can see there's blood. That means this man's blood still pumping.
Yeah.
This man's heart still pumping blood, and he's not dead. And I also saw the wound, bullet wound is to his right chest, not to his head. So I understood that he is executed, but not let him die immediately so that I will have time to remove his organs. After I removed his organs, my chief surgeon said, "Great, now you take your team, go back to the hospital, and remember, today nothing happened." I lived in that society. I was born into that society. I know if you don't obey order, what will happen to you. So since that day on, none of us said anything. We try to forget about this. Yeah.
Was it just that one incident?
Yes, and that one, and just one incident I was involved in.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you could tell me, because you spoke of you being from among the minorities, were the prisoners, those executed, and the person whose organs you had harvested, were they from the Uyghur minority?
Well, first of all, I only involved with this one incident once. And that time I didn't know there was an organ harvesting industry. Secondly, I don't know this man's ethnicity. So since I come to UK, and this is haunting me all the time. So since I don't know him, so whenever I see a mosque, I go in and try to pray for him, or if there's a temple, or if there's a church. In case one of them, one of pray in a different faith might go to him and say, "Sorry, I wasn't deliberate, and it was not that I'm willing to do that. And sorry, I caused your death. Even you are going to die. You have very short time left, but I have shortened the already shortened life."
Is this the reason why you decided to leave?
The reason I no, because the surgeon, this kind of operation in China is legal, and you will be treated as a leading surgeon in the new medical field. So you don't feel guilty. I didn't feel guilty that time. I started feeling guilty only after I come out, and after I start seeing all these materials which was not available inside China, then I started feeling guilty.
Do you think it's still going on?
Yes, and this industry now it is getting larger and larger. As you can see, recently they have built build two specialized organ transplantation center. Whole building is dedicated to the organ transplantation. From that, you can see this industry is booming.
Is Xinjiang separate to the rest of China? Because over the past few years, and this is, I'm curious to hear your perspective on this, over the past few years, claims from human rights organizations of genocide, of concentration camps, of more than 1 million, mainly Uyghur Muslims, being put into these camps by the Chinese government. China says we're fighting terrorism, this is re-education. When we look at what you were involved in and what you witnessed with your own eyes and what you had enacted with your own hands with organ harvesting, and then we extend that, do you think that the stories that are coming out, since you have been on the outside, do you believe all the stories that are coming out about the human rights situation in Xinjiang?
Everything you heard and you said and you saw on the news are true. And the fact is that the real situation is much, much worse than that. You see, first time I encountered this kind of thing, it was in 1990. I was in the outpatient department of our hospital. From the map, you can see our hospital is to the north of the Urumqi city. It's close to the Urumqi County, where the Uyghur peasants live, farmers. So one day, there was a Uyghur middle-aged man and brought his teenager, not teenager, younger than that, son, boy, come to me and asked me, because he doesn't speak Chinese, and he saw there was a Uyghur surgeon, so he come to me. And he asked me, he said, can you check, please, because my boy has gone missing for a few months, and can you check if he has missing any organs? I was curious. I said, why? What made you say that? And he said, in the county, in the Urumqi County, there's a rumor in the air that someone is stealing young boys, teenagers' organs, kidneys especially. And then, and he said, that was the reason I want you to check. Then I checked his son. Since his body, there's no any scar left by any surgery. It's not its whole body is not intact. Nothing suggests there was surgery. So I told him, I said, don't worry. Nobody can take your boy's surgeon without leaving a scar on his body. Then he was happily left. But from that day on, he spread this news saying that in this hospital there's a Uyghur surgeon. And then for the next 6 months, I received more than 100 Uyghur parents bringing their children. All of them has one thing in common, is have gone missing for a few months. And among this 100, more than 100, I found 3 of them. They have a very distinctive shaped scar on their body. You know, kidney is very deep inside the body. So if you want to take a kidney out, you have to cut really big. So that scar, you cannot hide it. And I found 3 of them, and I sent them to for ultrasound, and the ultrasound confirmed there's 1 kidney missing.
Right.
And that was as early as 1990.
I want to ask you, Dr. Tohti, okay, so
yes,
we could look at, I want to look a little bit at why, look at intentions. So With organs, perhaps we can look at it as supply and demand, right? So hospitals and transplant, people waiting on transplant lists in China itself, maybe needing organs, that could be one reason why there is this organ harvesting going on, maybe an international demand as well. That's the one part of it. But the next part of it, I wonder, what's your opinion on why Uyghur people specifically might be targeted, whether for organ harvesting or for broader oppression, such as the claims of the camps re-educating people and stripping them of their identity? Why is this being done? What's the intention?
Okay, you just asked me very large question, and that has to be divided into few sections to answer you.
Give it your best shot.
First of all, the organ harvesting, at the beginning, they were not targeted Uyghur. The reason I saw that in 1990, that is because in the minority area, the communication is difficult with the locals. And the power in this area is held by the Chinese CCPs. So even you catch one thief or one criminal, this criminal may not be ended up punished. So they can easily get away. And that you need to do deep research on this, because that is connected with Chinese government's effort to stabilize the border area. So they give much more power to this governors, and the governors, they are all Han Chinese. This is one reason. And another reason, another thing is that this experiment on the human body, it started as early as 1943. When the Chinese Communist Party was struggling for the power, the hospital, the medical team already started to do experiment on the human body with one purpose in their mind, is to extend the leader's life. This part has been ignored by the mainstream media still now. If you look at the Chinese leaders, and you will surprisingly find all of them, they surprisingly have very long longevity.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. I'm sorry to jump in here, because we are running out of time. If you can address the question of why the need for the broader repression specifically against Uyghurs. What's your analysis on that?
Well, as I said, this is a very big issue. Okay, cut it very short. This Uyghur land is in the Chinese way to expand the power into Central Asia. And this Uyghur land is the gateway for the Chinese to expand their influence into Central Asia. So they have to make sure everybody in this land unconditionally loyal to the Chinese power. Yeah, and for that, they have to show very high pressure of military presence in that region. But you have to have a reason, say, why you have concentrated a military power in that region. So then the Chinese Communist Party, they created that chaos in that region.
Understood. Before we go, and again, I apologize, we don't have much time. Before we go, do you have any contact with friends, family in Urumqi and the surrounding areas?
Yes.
And what's their
because-
situation like? We have maybe 30 seconds left. If you could give
Well-
me a sense of what it's like for them.
The life for them is a hell. If anybody have never seen a hell, I suggest them to go to Xinjiang to live for 3 months, and you will see what the hell's like.
Dr. Enver Tohti, I thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us. And I know it was difficult
you.
relaying some of that information. I appreciate you digging deep and telling us your story.
Thank you very much.